What's up, YouTube? Herman Williams with ATM Financial Services. I'm feeling pretty brave today, so I'm going to tackle what I know is a sensitive subject: personal finance for couples. If you're new to this channel, I would like to say welcome, and I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel and give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to smash that notification bell so that you will be informed when new videos are published. I post new video lessons every Saturday, so go ahead and join the subscriber list. And if you don't like the content, go ahead and give it a thumbs down, and please leave your comments either way. Your feedback is very much appreciated. So let's get started with today's lesson, shall we? First of all, did you know that money problems are still the #1 cause for divorce in this country? Personal disagreements over financial decision-making are among the main reasons that married couples end up in divorce court. Even when couples have resources and financial advice readily available to them, they still end up fighting over money. A survey conducted by Fidelity Investments found that couples carrying debt argued significantly more, 67%, about money than those couples who were not burdened with debt, around 41%. But it's not just about debt. The same survey also found that friction between couples often originated around savings and how much money should be collectively saved by the time the pair reach retirement age, approximately 65 years old. In this country, a general lack of combined savings among couples, paired with a larger population of retirees drawing on Social Security than ever before, has combined to intensify stress on these aging couples. But wait, it's not just older couples who are having relationship issues because of money. Another survey found that 70% of married couples regularly argued about money. That number surpasses the number of fights about things like household chores, togetherness, how to raise their children, and even sex. So why is it that couples have so much trouble agreeing on family finances? Well, I think it stems from a lot of things. In my last video, I talked about having a money mindset, and in that video, I talked about some of the factors that influence how we all think about money. Things like how and when we learn what we currently know about money, past experiences we've had with money issues, both good and bad, and a lack of positive role models in our life who could teach us good money habits. Add to that the fact that financial literacy is still not being taught in school, at least not on any grand scale, and couples can bring a lot of financial baggage into a relationship. Now, before I go any further, let me stop right here and say that I am not trying to be anyone's marriage counselor. In fact, I'm probably one of the least qualified to be giving relationship advice. However, what I am qualified to do is give you financial advice that could help you avoid some of the things that can negatively impact a relationship. We all have to remember that we are a product of our life experiences, and sometimes those life experiences can cause us to have some very strong, deeply rooted beliefs and emotions when it comes to money. And since our life experiences are unique to each of us, it would be unrealistic to think that you could just put two people together and all of their values and beliefs about money would just magically mesh and we would live happily ever after. So how can couples find common ground and work toward common goals without either one feeling dominated or unappreciated? Well, I believe it begins with both parties being willing to talk about their finances openly and honestly before a hot button issue arises. Psychologists say that many people will talk about almost anything before they will talk about their finances. Why is it so difficult for us to talk about money? Maybe it's because money symbolizes different things to different people. For some, it could symbolize power, control, security, or even love. This is why you don't want to wait until your partner has charged up a storm or made other frivolous purchases to try to talk about finances. I can almost guarantee you this conversation will not be productive because emotions will be running high and our natural defenses will kick in and you'll both end up frustrated or worse. Try to find a neutral time to talk when there are no particularly pressing money issues at hand. Before starting the conversation, though, take some time to self-reflect and be honest with yourself. If you've always been independent, for example, it may be hard for you to be taken care of financially. If you have more assets than your partner, you may feel fear about risking your hard-earned money or resentment if his or her spending habits are not so good. You have to be honest with yourself about these feelings in order to be honest with your partner. This is probably a good time to talk about one of the things that a lot of couples argue about that may actually stem from the feelings I just mentioned. The argument is about whether to have separate or joint bank accounts. Now, research has shown that for many, maintaining a separate bank account is an important psychological exclamation of personal control and independence. For some, it can even be a lifeline that makes it possible to leave an abusive relationship. Now, on the flip side, some couples have also reported that having joint accounts increased their overall feeling of togetherness. It made them feel like their financial future was one goal and not two. Every couple and every family situation is different. Personally, what I've seen work well for a lot of couples is to have both: a joint account to handle household expenses and separate accounts for personal spending. How you manage these accounts can vary widely from one couple to the next, but it all begins with a conversation. Talk about what common goals you have, such as retirement plans, debt elimination, kids' education funding, or vacations and traveling, just to name a few. Once you have identified your common goals, add those to your household expenses and determine a budget for the joint account. Once you have the budget for the joint account, now you need to discuss how to fund this account in an equitable manner. One way to do this is to have each person contribute their pro rata share to the joint account each month. If the total household income is, let's say, $75,000 annually, but one person earns $50,000 a year and the other person earns $25,000 a year, and we're going to assume for the sake of argument that this is take-home pay and not gross. In this example, the person bringing home $50,000 a year represents roughly 67% of the total household income, and the person bringing home $25,000 a year represents the remaining 33%. So when it comes to funding the joint account budget, each person should contribute their designated percentage. Now, I know it's not always that straightforward. There can be many factors that can cause you to deviate from this simple formula. For instance, the person bringing home $25,000 a year may not have a retirement plan or other benefits offered to them through their employer. Or the person making $50,000 a year may have substantially more personal debt. Again, these are things that need to be discussed openly and calmly in order to develop a plan that is equitable and doesn't infringe on those psychological and emotional factors of either party. If you're able to do this, however, each person will feel like they're making a reasonable contribution to the household finances and doing their part to support the common goals, while at the same time not feel like their personal spending is being controlled or dictated by someone else. No man wants to have to ask for permission to spend money on fishing or golf, and no woman wants to have to ask permission to spend money on her nails or shopping. I know that probably sounds sexist. I know there are plenty of women who love to fish and play golf, and there are certainly men who love to shop and maybe even get their nails done. The point is, with this method, each person should have fund money left over after making their contributions to the common good. One important factor to keep in mind: establishing and following a budget is the most reliable way to eliminate debt and plan for a future together. And it's nearly impossible for couples to set financial goals or build financial strategy without one. Now, I'm going to leave a link to 4 different top-rated budgeting apps that you can choose from in the description below. I implore you to choose some method that will work for you. It is vitally important that both partners know where a couple stands financially in order to establish common financial goals. Now, I mentioned earlier that the amount of debt that a couple has may not be equally balanced. Now, even though in the eyes of the law, any debt acquired before marriage will remain in the name of the person who took on the debt, working as a couple toward a debt-free life will benefit both parties. Being dishonest about personal spending habits or keeping hidden debt is referred to as financial infidelity, and it will inevitably destroy the trust that holds a couple together. Data also shows debt as one of the primary threats to the happiness and financial security of couples of all ages. Therefore, minimizing debt obligations is a reliable way to positively impact personal relationships and personal finance. The bottom line is this: it doesn't really matter if you're married or not. If you're going to cohabitate with someone, then you need to communicate and collaborate about your finances. Everyone brings financial baggage to a relationship. Some bring enough for a trip to the beach, and some bring enough for a trip around the world. The important thing to remember is that it was likely habits and behaviors that packed those bags, and it will take new behaviors to get them unpacked. And you know what I always say: change your behaviors and you can change your life. So until next time, stay safe and behave well.